The shining star of the Renaissance era, Leonardo da Vinci's story began in a small Italian village. From the moment he was born, Leonardo showed everyone that he was not an ordinary child. His passion for drawing took him to apprentice with one of the greatest masters of the time. But he was not just an artist, he was also a scientist, inventor and thinker. Leonardo examined the world around him with endless curiosity. No field could escape attracting his interest. Everything from human anatomy to flight, from the structure of plants to the dynamics of water, he'd caught his attention, and this curiosity led him to create works and inventions far beyond his time. The mysterious smile of the Mona Lisa and the dramatic composition of the Last Supper secured its place in art history. Leonardo, in his drawings and notebooks, imagined future inventions such as helicopters, parachutes, and war machines. This shows that he is not just an observer, but also a visionary who shapes the future. However, most of these innovative ideas were not understood during his lifetime. Leonardo's life was not only full of successes, many of his works remained unfinished, and some of his inventions were never realized. However, the situation did not weaken his legacy. On the contrary, art remained an inspiration that continues to challenge the limits of human intelligence and creativity. This genius of the Renaissance pursued his quest for knowledge until the last days of his life. He left behind a life full of the works he did and the secrets he discovered on his deathbed. Leonardo da Vinci, not only as an artist, scientist and inventor, but also as a figure symbolizing the boundless power of learning and discovery, has gone down in history. Leonardo's story demonstrates how curiosity and imagination can transcend limits, and how the human spirit can achieve great things with the desire for knowledge. He became a light, not only illuminating his own era, but all times, and his work continues to illuminate the world even today. Leonardo da Vinci was a true Renaissance man and a genius who pushed boundaries.
In the golden sands of Egypt, there lies a story beyond time, the story of Cleopatra. From the moment she was born, Cleopatra was chosen to be a queen who would shape not only the fate of Egypt, but also the world. Her intelligence and beauty were enough to make her not just a ruler, but also a legend. When Cleopatra ascended the throne, Egypt was on the verge of a major transformation. She had to protect and enhance the prosperity of her country by utilizing her skills as both a ruler and a diplomat. By forming alliances with external powers and making strategic marriages, she managed to keep Egypt not only alive. At the same time, it made him one of the most powerful states in the Mediterranean. Cleopatra was a woman ahead of her time with her thoughts and decisions. Her passion for knowledge propelled her to advance Egypt's science, culture, and politics. Cleopatra, being fluent in many languages besides her own, was able to communicate directly with world leaders and defend Egypt's interests. Her relations with Rome is one of the most striking parts of Cleopatra's story. Her complex love and political relationships with Julius Caesar and Marcus Antonius changed the course of history. Cleopatra skillfully managed these relationships for both personal and political gains. However, this also prepared the end for her and Egypt. Cleopatra's life ended in tragedy. When Egypt fell into the hands of Rome, the queen did not lose her belief in her freedom and the independence of her country. Even in her final moments, Cleopatra's courage and independent spirit were enough to make her one of the most memorable figures in history. Cleopatra is still admired by many people centuries after her death. With her power, intelligence, and charisma, she became not just a queen, but also an icon. Cleopatra's story is a timeless narration of love, power, and tragedy. As a leader who shaped her own destiny and left an indelible mark on the stage of history, her legacy continues to live beyond time. Cleopatra's life reminds us of the power of courage, intelligence, and independence. The great queen of Egypt went down in history as a woman fighting for equality and freedom. Her story inspires us about always pursuing what's right and shaping our own destiny.
A long time ago, in 100 BC, a child named Julius Caesar was born in the city of Rome. This boy would become one of Rome's greatest leaders in the future. He tried to find his place in Rome's complex politics in his youth. Known as a brave and clever person, Julius Caesar demonstrated his abilities in the military and political fields. Caesar joined the Roman army and quickly stood out with his talents. He became a commander, loved and respected by the soldiers. He gained fame with his campaigns to Gaul. During these expeditions, he expanded the borders of Rome and increased its power. However, these successes also increased his enemies. When he returned to Rome, Caesar's fame and power were at their peak. He entered into a power struggle and eventually, he established the first triumvirate, a group of 3 people who ruled Rome in the end. But during this period, Rome was filled with internal conflicts and political games. In 49 BC, Caesar's famous crossing of the Rubicon River made history. This movement caused the start of the Roman Civil War. Caesar, winning this war, became the sole ruler of Rome and was declared a dictator. During this time, he implemented many reforms, worked for the people, and tried to make Rome a better place. However, Caesar's increasing power disturbed some people in the Senate. In 44 BC, Caesar was betrayed and killed by a group of senators who were his close friends. Caesar's death marks an important period in Roman history. After this event, Rome was on the path from a republic to an empire. Julius Caesar is remembered for his military genius, political skills, and services to the public. He was a brave, decisive, and sometimes ruthless leader. His story continued to influence people even after his death. Caesar's life offers profound thoughts on power struggle, and leadership. Julius Caesar was the famous general and dictator of the Roman Empire. However, his increasing power and struggle for power led to his tragic end. Caesar's legacy left deep marks in history and posed a thought-provoking example on leadership, power, and the complexity of human nature.
Once upon a time, on the stormy island of Corsica, a child was born. His name was Napoleon. Young Napoleon quickly drew attention with his intelligence and courage. In his youth, he grew up within the stern walls of a military school and was groomed to be a leader who would shape the future of France. As the fire of the French Revolution flared up, Napoleon shone like a star amidst the chaos. With his brave and strategic intelligence, he won victories on the battlefields and swiftly rose to become the most powerful man in France. In 1804, with all eyes on him, he declared himself the Emperor of France, opening the doors to an era that would change the balance of Europe. Napoleon became a legend on the battlefields. His victories at battles like Austerlitz, Jena, and Wagram inscribed his name in the pages of history with golden letters. But, as it happens in every great story, a fall from the peak was inevitable. His daring but disastrous campaign in Russia marked the end of his rise. Having lost the majority of his army in the cold Russian lands, Napoleon could not withstand the united forces of Europe and was dethroned in 1814. He was exiled to the island of Elba. A year later, he made a remarkable comeback, known to history as the 100 Days. However, this ended with a decisive defeat at Waterloo. Napoleon spent the remaining years of his life in exile on the remote island of St. Helena. There, immersed in solitude, he pondered over his downfall and dwelled on his former glories. He closed his eyes to the world in 1821, but his story continues to live on forever. Napoleon will be remembered not just as a soldier or emperor, but as one of the greatest figures in history.
In the green lands of Macedonia lived a brave child. His name was Alexander. His father was King Philip, and his mother was Queen Olympias. Alexander grew up with stories of heroism. Alexander was an extraordinary child. At the age of 12, he tamed a wild horse that he named Bucephalus. He was knowledgeable about stars and the art of war. His teacher was the great thinker Aristotle. At the age of 20, Alexander ascended to the throne, amassed a large army, and set sail beyond the borders. He and his soldiers crossed mountains, trekked through deserts. His greatest victory was against the Persian king Darius. Alexander didn't just conquer, he spread knowledge and culture. He headed east with a desire to reach the end of the world. On the way back, he fell ill and bid farewell to life at 32. Although his empire disintegrated, Alexander's legacy continued to live on. The adventures of Alexander still resonate through time.
If you liked my video, don't forget to subscribe.